This is Dr. Shantan Palwai, consultant.
Hello, namaskar. This is CVR English Prime Time, and it's now time to roll the headlines with me, Anukriti Sharma. Bhatti presented the first budget. Bhatti shared the first budget slashed several expenditures of the previous governments. Hyderabad gets prime share in Telangana budget. Metro extension and Musi river cleansing is top priority. Revised NEET results are out. Results as per the Supreme Court order. Chandrababu declared white paper on law and order, says no one will be spared. CM versus Governor Cold War in West Bengal is out on the occasion of the new TMC employees swearing. National and financial capitals are drenched. Schools and colleges shut down in Mumbai. Hello, namaskar. This is CVR English Prime Time, and you are watching World News Special with me, Anukriti Sharma. Now, let's start with the million-dollar question. Can Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump? The US presidential campaign is shaping literally into a contest. A few days ago, Trump was seeming to be invincible. The attempt on his life led to a groundswell of support. It ended the re-election campaign of the sitting president. Headlines also said the bullet hit Trump, but it killed Biden's bid. Now, Biden is out, but the plot is shifting. Kamala Harris is gaining ground, and a new poll is recently out. It shows Harris in the lead over Trump. Now it's a small lead, barely 2 percentage points, but it is a lead nonetheless. According to this poll, 44% voters support Kamala Harris and 42% are for Donald Trump. What about the rest? 5% voters want a different candidate and the remaining 9% are undecided. Now let me add here that this is just one poll and Harris only has a marginal lead. Nonetheless, these numbers should alarm Trump. This is the first poll to come out after the Republican convention and Biden's announcement. US President Joe Biden today addressed the whole nation for the first time after he announced his withdrawal from the 2024 presidential election race and endorsed Kamala Harris as the Democratic Party nominee. He briefed on the reason for dropping out of the presidential election race, saying that the best way forward is to pass the torch to the new generation to unite the country of USA. He also briefed about his duty for the next 6 months until the end of his tenure. Over the next 6 months, Biden would be focused on doing his job as the president, and he'll keep defending Americans' personal freedoms and civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. He'll keep calling out hate and extremism and make it clear there is no place in America for any violence. Bottom line, Biden will keep working to ensure that America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. Let's take a look at his address.
Can we do that? Nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy. In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this: we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world.
Trump was the star of the convention. He won the nomination hands down. It was a coronation of sorts. Trump was in fact riding a high, and the election victory looked rather achievable. Now compare this for a second with Kamala Harris.
Key Democratic
Starting a
fundraisers
late
and celebrities-
campaign, she doesn't have a running mate yet and is yet to officially secure her party's nomination. She is the underdog, yet she is beating Trump in the first poll of this week. The key Democratic fundraisers and celebrities in Hollywood appear to be throwing support behind Kamala Harris's US presidential campaign, greeting President Biden's exit from the race with a sigh of relief. Let's take a look at how America is backing Kamala up.
In the first 24 hours, the most for a Key Democratic fundraisers and celebrities in Hollywood appear to be throwing support behind Kamala Harris's U.S. presidential campaign, greeting President Biden's exit from the race with a sigh of relief. Often described as an ATM for Democrats, the world's film and TV capital in Los Angeles has long been an important source of the party's campaign funds. On Monday, rapper Cardi B, actors Jamie Lee Curtis and Viola Davis, and TV producer Shonda Rhimes threw their support behind the U.S. vice president. A spokesperson for Harris's campaign said on Monday it had raked in $81 million in the first 24 hours, the most for a single day in the 2024 campaign for either party. However, celebrities and fundraisers had stopped donating money to the Democrats since Biden's disastrous debate in June.
Vice President Kamala Harris hit the ground running with the launch of her 2024 presidential campaign on Sunday. Campaign officials and allies made hundreds of calls on her behalf. Soon after President Joe Biden said he was pulling out of the race, they urged delegates to nominate her for president at next month's Democratic Party convention, and Harris pledged to unite the nation in her bid against Republican nominee Donald Trump. Biden said he would remain in the presidency until his term ends in January next year, while endorsing Harris to run for president in his place. It leaves his replacement with less than 4 months to wage a campaign before the November election. By late Sunday, Harris had already locked in the support of all the Democrat state party chairs, according to several on a conference call. Her prospects in November are less clear. Shortly after Biden's announcement, Trump told CNN, quote, "Harris will be easier to beat than Joe Biden would have been." However, polling immediately after last week's assassination attempt against Trump showed that Harris performs no better or worse statistically than Biden had done against the GOP nominee. Still, senior fellow at the Brookings Institute Darrell M. West thinks the shakeup will help the Democrats catch up in key swing states.
The polls have actually been moving in favor of Donald Trump over the last few weeks. I think her likely nomination will put Democrats in a strong position. She'll be very competitive in those crucial Midwestern states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And I think she also will put some of those other swing states that have started to slip away, places like Arizona, back in very strong contention for Democrats.
Several prominent Democrats, including potential Harris challengers such as California Governor Gavin Newsom, immediately backed the vice president. Despite that early show of support, a handful of the party's biggest names, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former President Barack Obama, both praised Biden's decision but did not announce endorsements. Two other potential challengers, Michigan.
Yes, you saw it right and you heard it right. America says Harris can take Trump down in a heartbeat. At the risk of sounding repetitive, let me tell you that polls are not the final deal. They can get things wrong. Just look at the exit polls in India, which were way off the mark, or ask Hillary Clinton. She lost to Trump in 2016 despite doing so well in polls. So take them with more than a pinch of salt. And yet polls matter because they help in gauging the voters' overall sentiment, the broad trend of an election. And based on these numbers, Harris may or may not be able to beat Trump. But he is not running away with the election just yet. It is going to be a fight. The pollsters ask some specific questions about the candidates, like, for example, who is more sharp mentally? Who is sharper? 56% of the voters said Harris is sharper than Trump and Biden, and that's a valuable insight for Kamala Harris and her advisors. The Democratic Convention is weeks away. The party has repositioned Kamala Harris. They want to create a strong narrative for her campaign. And yesterday, we saw the first signs of this. Harris held her first campaign event and she attacked Donald Trump.
In her debut campaign speech on Monday, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris vowed to call on her experience as a courtroom prosecutor in dealing with Republican nominee Donald Trump.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Trump is due to be sentenced in September for falsifying business records to hide hush money payments to a porn star. He also faces criminal charges related to his efforts to overturn President Joe Biden's 2020 election victory. The speech to campaign workers in Delaware came just 28 hours after Biden stepped aside amid questions about his age and health and endorsed Harris.
I love you, Joe.
The former California Attorney General and U.S. Senator also said that building up the middle class would be at the center of her presidency.
Together we fight to build a nation where every person has affordable health care, where every worker is paid fairly, and where every senior can retire with dignity. All of this is to say, building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Harris also highlighted other policy priorities, including gun control and reproductive rights.
If Trump gets the chance, he will sign a national abortion ban to outlaw abortion in every single state, but we are not going to let that happen.
The Trump campaign slammed Harris after the speech, calling her, quote, just as incompetent as Joe Biden and even more liberal. Harris went to work consolidating Democratic support for her presidential bid minutes after receiving Biden's backing on Sunday. According to multiple sources late on Monday, Harris has secured support from a majority of delegates to the Democratic National Convention. That likely ensures she will become the party's nominee for president next month. Harris's campaign also said it had raised $81 million in the 24 hours following Biden's exit, the most for a single day in the 2024 campaign for either party. Harris will travel on Tuesday to Milwaukee, the largest city in the battleground state of Wisconsin. The city last week hosted a Republican National Convention that offered a stark display of Trump's dominance over his party.
God bless the United States of America.
She's making progress on other fronts as well. In the last 2 days, she's whipped up endorsements from hundreds of Democrats, and yesterday, top Democrats in the US Congress endorsed Harris. Vice President Harris did an impressive job securing the majority of delegates needed to win the Democratic Party's nomination to be the next president to the United States of America. She now has enough votes to secure her party's nomination. There are no visible signs of opposition to her in the party. Plus, the money is flowing in. The donors have sent more than $100 million to the Harris campaign. After she replaced Joe Biden, Harris and the Democrats have raised a whopping $250 million. Yes, you heard it right. $250 million in the past few days. This money was raised in just a little over 42 hours. After Biden's announcement, $250 million in 40 hours. So from the endorsements to fundraising and most importantly, mass support, Kamala Harris seems to be ticking all the boxes for us. Meanwhile, the Republicans are amping up their attacks. They want to slow down Harris. Trump camp has filed a complaint over Joe Biden's campaign funds. That's more than $90 million. That's the money that Biden had raised, but when he dropped out of the race, the money went to Kamala Harris. Her campaign moved the Federal Election Commission, that is America's election watchdog, the Federal Election Commission, and they replaced Biden's name with that of Harris. So the money went to Kamala Harris. So now she controls Biden's funds, and the Trump camp has a complaint against this. They argue that this money cannot be transferred. In fact, let me quote from the complaint. This effort makes a mockery of our campaign finance laws. So Trump is directly targeting Harris's funds. In fact, his party is going after her party's overall track record, especially her failure in tackling immigration issues. Trump is going hard on Harris. He says, and I'm quoting him here, "I'm not going to be nice."
Vice President, 3 days ago, we officially defeated the worst president in the history of our country, crooked Joe Biden. He quit because he was losing so badly in the polls. He was down in every single poll and down by a lot, so he quit. We have a new victim to defeat, Lion Kamala Harris, Lion, L-Y-I-N apostrophe. The most incompetent and far-left vice president in American history. By the way, they did a poll. She was rated the worst vice president in history. I've never seen that poll before, but that's the poll. For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy our country. When you're dealing with these people, they're very dangerous people. When you're dealing with them, you can't be too nice. You really can't be. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice. Is that okay? 3 days ago, we officially defeated the worst president in the history of our country, crooked Joe Biden. He quit because he was losing so badly in the polls. He was down in every single poll and down by a lot, so he quit. But really, what happened was the leaders of the Democrat Party, in a very undemocratic move, the bosses, they said, either you get out or we're going to throw you out using the 25th Amendment. That's what happened. You know that. So what? Well, you know that. That's what happens. That's what happens. These are nasty people, the Democrats, so we better beat them or we're not going to have a country left. You're not going to have a country left. So now we have a new victim to defeat. Lion Kamala Harris, Lion, L-Y-I-N apostrophe. The most incompetent and far left vice president in American history. By the way, they did a poll. She was rated the worst vice president in history. I've never seen that poll before, but that's the poll. Together we will win North Carolina in an epic landslide. We're way ahead in the poll. And we will take back that beautiful White House, and we will very simply make America great again. For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy our country. If she ever gets the chance to get into office, we're not going to let that happen. You know, I was supposed to be nice. They say something happened to me when I got shot. I became nice. And when you're dealing with these people, they're very dangerous people. When you're dealing with them, you can't be too nice. You really can't be. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice. Is that okay? They want me to be nice. Kamala Harris is the most liberal elected politician in American history. Did you know that? She's an ultra-liberal politician. She's absolutely terrible. She's, as you know, more liberal than Bernie Sanders. Can you believe it? She's rated far more liberal than Bernie Sanders. And she's now trying to get rid of her record, but she can't. She's going out and saying things that she doesn't believe in. If she ever got in, she'd destroy this country so fast. So she was the border czar, but she never went to the border, right? She was appointed by this horrible president, this horrible guy. How this guy got to be president in his basement. He stayed in his basement. And we did a lot better the second time than we did the first. How this guy got to be president, what they've done to this country in 3.5 years, and we're going to turn it around. But what they've done to our country is unthinkable. As borders are, Kamala threw open our borders and allowed 20 million illegal aliens to stampede into our country from all over the world. As vice president, she cast the tie-breaking votes that created the worst inflation in a half a century, decimating middle-class families and hurting very badly, as you know, all people in North Carolina. And by the way, Laura says...
Well, it looks like the American presidential campaign is heating up, and it only gets more dramatic and more exciting from here. In the most brutal jibe on the Democrats, former President and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump on July 24th called Vice President Kamala Harris a liar. During the campaign, he called Kamala Harris a radical left lunatic who would destroy the United States. Following this, Trump said that he was not going to be nice to the Democratic leaders. According to Trump camp, for 3.5 years, the lying Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy America if she ever gets a chance to get into office. Trump says he is not going to let that happen. Trump went on to say that he was supposed to be nice. The media had quoted something had happened to Trump when he got shot. He became nicer. Something inside him had shifted. So Trump declared in his speech that when Americans are dealing with very dangerous people like Harris, he can't be too nice. And I'm quoting him here. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice. Is that okay? I am not going to be nice. So the Republicans are going after Kamala Harris, all guns blazing. Their top party leaders say they should tone it down. Apparently, some instructions have been issued to stop attacking Kamala Harris on her race, gender and identity, and to focus more on her policies. Not sure if Donald Trump and JD Vance got that memo. And now it's time for the Union Budget 2024 latest updates. We have the latest for you in India. Opposition MPs protest over the budget inside and outside the parliament. They are unhappy with the Union Budget which was presented day before yesterday. The MPs claim the budget discriminates against the opposition-ruled states. The budget has earmarked significant projects for Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. These are the states whose leaders are a part of the ruling coalition. Let's take a look at these visuals.
देश को अपमान किया है और प्रधानमंत्री जी को गाली देने का काम विपक्ष के लोगों ने किया है। विपक्ष के लोगों ने एक भी बजट में जो अच्छा प्रावधान है इसका बारे में जिक्र नहीं करते हुए सिर्फ गाली देने का काम किया है। अगर सही समय में विपक्ष के लोगों का समझ में नहीं आया तो जनता पनिशमेंट देंगे उसको। सरकार चलाने के लिए मोदी जी को तीसरे टर्म भारत के लोगों ने दिया है। हम अपने आप सत्ता में नहीं आया। मोदी जी को तीसरे टर्म प्रधानमंत्री बनाने के लिए यह जनादेश भारत के जनता का है। सुझाव देने के लिए बजट सेशन होता है, यहाँ गाली गलौज देने के लिए बजट सेशन नहीं होते हैं। ये मानसून सत्र है और एक तरीके से ये बजट सत्र ही है। तो इस मानसून सेशन में जो बजट पेश किया गया, कल बजट का पहला दिन था चर्चा का और कल की चर्चा में आप सबने देखा होगा एक शानदार बजट मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में ऐतिहासिक तीसरी टर्म का पहला बजट पेश होने के बाद देश ये देखना चाहते हैं कि बजट पे चर्चा अच्छी तरह से हो, सार्थक हो, ये सब चाहते हैं। कल ऑपोजिशन पार्टी के कुछ मेंबर, खास करके कुछ दल के नेताओं ने जिस तरीके से बजट के समय में टिप्पणी की और जैसे भाषण दिया, मैं उसको सबसे पहले तो खंडन करना चाहता हूं कि बजट सेशन का गरिमा को नीचे गिरा करके इन्होंने सदन का अपमान भी किया है। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने पहले ही कह दिया कि दल के लिए जो कुछ करना था चुनाव में किया है, अब देश के लिए सबको मिलकर काम करना है। दल के लिए नहीं, देश के लिए अगले 5 साल देश के लिए सबको करना है, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अपील किया। कल विपक्ष के लोग ने बजट के बारे में कुछ नहीं कहा, सिर्फ राजनीति की है। 2 चीजें विपक्ष के लोगों ने किया है कल। पहला तो देश का जनादेश, जनता का जनादेश को अपमान किया है और प्रधानमंत्री जी को गाली देने का काम विपक्ष के लोगों ने किया है। ये लोकतंत्र के लिए ठीक नहीं है। कल आप देखेंगे अच्छा से, आप पूरे वीडियो को भी आप फिर से देख लीजिए। एनडीए के जितने लोगों ने कल बजट चर्चा में भाग ली, सबने बजट के बारे में अच्छी तरह से जिक्र किया और सुझाव दिया और अपना अपना राज्य में जो फायदा है उसको भी गिनती किया। विपक्ष के लोगों ने एक भी बजट में जो अच्छा प्रावधान है इसका बारे में जिक्र नहीं करते हुए सिर्फ गाली देने का काम किया है। लोकतंत्र में, दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतंत्र भारत का पार्लियामेंट में बजट के समय में बजट पे चर्चा नहीं करके राजनीतिक बात करके प्रधानमंत्री जी को गाली देने का काम करना, ये किसी को शोभा नहीं देते हैं। मैं पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर होने के नाते फिर से अपील करता हूं कि बजट सेशन में बजट पे चर्चा होना चाहिए। मैं विस्तार में तो नहीं कहूंगा क्योंकि अभी सदन में चर्चा चल रही है, लेकिन जो बजट में इस बार निर्मला सीतारामन जी के द्वारा पेश किया गया है, मोदी जी का तीसरी टर्म में भारत का दुनिया का सबसे तीसरे बड़े अर्थशक्ति बनाने का, थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बनाने का पूरा प्रावधान नींव इस बजट में रखा है। इसमें क्यों चर्चा नहीं होते हैं? बजट में 11,11,100
to 25. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman countered the opposition's claims, calling the budget discriminatory. Opposition MPs in the Rajya Sabha staged a walkout. Opposition INDIA bloc says the budget sidelines the non-NDA states. Nirmala Sitharaman responded to Mallikarjun Kharge, calling these allegations absolutely outrageous. Watch the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's response.
जिस जगह अपोजिशन पार्टी चुन के आ गई, जिस जगह आपको निग्लेक्ट किया गया है या लोगों ने नकार दिया आपको, उस जगह कुछ नहीं मिला।
Just to the point that he raised, that I have not named many states. Congress party has been in power for a very long time in this country. They presented so many different budgets, and they would know clearly that in every budget you don't get an opportunity to name every state of this country. This is a deliberate attempt of the opposition parties led by the Congress party to give an impression to the people, oh, nothing has been given to our states, it's only been given to 2 states. Cabinet has, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, passed a very important decision. It has taken the decision to set up a very big port in Vadavan in Maharashtra. Did Maharashtra get ignored because I did not mention the name of Maharashtra?
कल बजट पेश हुआ, उस बजट में किसी स्टेट को कुछ नहीं मिला और सबके थाली खाली और 2 के थाली में पकोड़ा और ये अपना डिलीवरी,
एक सेकंड,
ये 2 छोड़ के किसी को नहीं मिला कुछ। ना तमिलनाडु को मिला, ना केरला को मिला, ना कर्नाटक को मिला, ना महाराष्ट्र को मिला, ना पंजाब, ना हरियाणा, ना राजस्थान, ना छत्तीसगढ़, ना किसी स्टेट को कुछ नहीं, दिल्ली को नहीं दिया, तो मैं कितने गिनूं, ओडिशा को कुछ नहीं दिया। तो ऐसा बजट मैं कभी नहीं देखा और ये सिर्फ किसी को खुश करने के लिए, कुर्सी बचाने के लिए वो ये सब हुआ है। इसका हम कंडम करते हैं और इस ढंग से बजट पेश अगर हो गया, मैं समझता हूँ कर्नाटक से आए हैं। नहीं, कर्नाटक से आए हैं सर। हमारी तो अपेक्षा ऐसी थी सबसे ज्यादा मुझे ही मिलेगा, लेकिन इतना हमको तो कुछ नहीं मिला। तो इसका तो हम कंडम करेंगे, प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे और सारे इंडिया पार्टी अलायंस, सारे कन्याकुमारी से लेकर कश्मीर तक। नहीं, मैं बोल देता हूँ, उन्होंने तो बोलने में, माता जी बोलने में तो एक्सपर्ट है, मुझे मालूम है। तो
ये तो
उसीलिए
माता जी नहीं आपकी बेटी के बराबर हैं।
मैं अपनी
ये तो
बात
आपकी
रख
बेटी
रहा
के
हूं,
बराबर हैं।
तो इसीलिए सर मैं कंडम करता हूं। अगर आप जिस जगह अपोजिशन पार्टी चुन के आ गई, जिस जगह आपको निग्लेक्ट किया गया है या लोगों ने नकार दिया आपको, उस जगह कुछ नहीं मिला। और लोग अगर ऐसा आप करते गए, अगर बैलेंस नहीं होगा, डेवलपमेंट कैसा होगा?
You made your point, sir.
आज आपके साथ है, कल लोग वो दूसरों के साथ हो गए।
You made
ये
your
तो
point.
लोग
Honorable
अलग
Finance Minister.
समय में अलग अलग से
Honorable
करते
Finance
हैं,
Minister.
इसीलिए मैं इसका खंडन करता
Honorable Finance
हूँ।
Minister.
हम सभी पार्टी के लोग इसको कंडम करते हैं इस टाइप के एटीट्यूड के लिए।
My left.
So thank you very much for giving this opportunity, although it is unfortunate that the opposition, particularly a senior leader of the opposition, Shri Mallikarjun Kharge, who stood up to say his views on what he heard of the budget yesterday. I would think, and maybe it's a bit too much to expect, that in the honor of democracy, at least the opposition would have stayed here to listen to what I have to respond. Now that the leader of the opposition raised issues on the budget which was presented yesterday and tabled in this house yesterday. Just to the point that he raised, that I have not named many states and probably spoke about only 2 states. There are a few points which I have to table here with your permission, voice here with your permission, as to what happens in a speech. Congress party has been in power for a very long time in this country. They presented so many different budgets, and they would know clearly that in every budget, you don't get an opportunity to name every state of this country. I'll take this example. Between vote on account, which was presented on 1st February this year, and now the full budget which was presented yesterday for this year, I have not named very many states. But let me take the example of Maharashtra, for instance. Between vote on account and yesterday's budget, in vote on account and in yesterday's budget, I had not named Maharashtra. I'll take it as an example. Cabinet has, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, passed a very important decision. It has taken the decision to set up a very big port in Vadavan in Maharashtra. Did Maharashtra get ignored because I did not mention the name of Maharashtra? 76,000 crores have been announced for that project. Maharashtra's name was not taken in the vote on account, nor was it taken yesterday. But does it mean that we've ignored Maharashtra? And I can take the name of so many other different states where we have major projects, one. And second, if the speech does not mention the name of a particular state, does it mean that the schemes of the Government of India, the programs of Government of India, the externally aided assistance which we obtain from the World Bank and ADB and AIB and so on, institutions such as that, don't go to these states? They go as per a routine. And actually the expenditure statement of the government, the department-wise allocation of the government, clearly item-wise mentions all this. This is a deliberate attempt, and I'm saying this with responsibility. This is a deliberate attempt of the opposition parties led by the Congress party to give an impression to the people, oh, nothing has been given to our states, it's only been given to 2 states. I would challenge the Congress party for all the budget speeches that they've delivered, that in each of the budget speeches, have they named every state of this country? This is an outrageous allegation. This is an outrageous allegation, and now that they have come here, now that the TMC has come here, I would like to say.
Meanwhile, BJP MP Kangana Ranaut raised her first question as the MP in Lok Sabha regarding Himachali art and music today. She asked about the steps being taken for the revival of Himachali art and music. CVR English has the latest update on the budget debate for you.
मैं बोलने का मौका दिया। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय जी, मैं आपका मेरी तरफ से और मंडी की जनता की तरफ से हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ, आभार करती हूँ कि आपने आज पहली बार मुझे इस सभा में बोलने का, मंडी क्षेत्र के विषय में बोलने का मौका दिया। महोदय, हमारे मंडी क्षेत्र में ऐसी बहुत सारी कला शैलियाँ हैं जो विलुप्त हो रही हैं। हमारे हिमाचल प्रदेश में जो एक घर बनाने की कला शैली है जिसे काटकुनी कहा जाता है, वहाँ भेड़ और याक की ऊनों से जो है विभिन्न वस्त्र बनाए जाते हैं, जैसे कि जैकेट्स हो गए या टोपियां हो गई, शॉल या स्वेटर्स बनाने के जो काम है, जिनका बाहर के देशों में बहुत मूल्य मिलता है, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ पे पूरी तरह से जो है ये जो एक्सटिंक्ट हो रहे हैं उनको बढ़ावा देने के लिए क्या कदम लिए जा रहे हैं। और साथ ही मैं ये भी कहना चाहूँगी कि हमारे हिमाचल का जो संगीत है, खासकर जो स्पीति और किन्नौर या भरमौर के क्षेत्र में पाए जाने वाला जो ट्राइबल उनकी जो कपड़े हो गए, उसके साथ में जो उनके फोक फॉर्म्स है, आर्ट फॉर्म्स है, वो भी विलुप्त होती जा रही हैं। तो उनके विषय में क्या कदम उठाए जा रहे हैं? धन्यवाद।
During budget discussion, Samajwadi Party MP Dharmendra Yadav alleged that the central government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi is against the youth, farmers, Dalits and the backward classes. While participating in the general discussion on the union budget, he also claimed that the government wants to privatize the entire education sector. He also took a jibe at BJP over the defeat in Ayodhya and implied that the hate generated within the BJP, listen to this, the hate generated within the BJP against Ayodhya and Uttar Pradesh is to such an extent, an extreme extent that it has stopped them from providing any fund allocations whatsoever for Ayodhya in the budget. In fact, this radical speech is now going viral on social media. Take a look.
बोलो, मालूम है कितने बड़े तीरंदाज हो। किसान अगर अपनी एमएसपी की मांग करते हैं, हजारों किसान ही दिल्ली की सीमा पर मारे जाते हैं और आप सोचते हो कि आपकी बात को कोई समझेगा नहीं। 20 करोड़ नौजवानों को रोजगार कहां है? अरे छोड़िए यार, अबे कोई नोटिस नहीं लेता तुम्हें, छोड़ो कोई नोटिस नहीं लेगा तुम्हें। मेरा खुला आरोप है सरकार पर कि ये सरकार शिक्षा को प्राइवेट करके, शिक्षा को मुट्ठी भर उद्योगपतियों के हाथों में देके, शिक्षा को चुनिंदा लोगों के हाथ में देके, देश के 140 करोड़ जिसमें मैं समझता हूं 90% लोग गरीब हैं, उन गरीबों के हाथों से शिक्षा को छीनने का ये जो आपकी सरकार षड्यंत्र कर रही है, इसके लिए हम लोग इस मौके पे विरोध करते हैं।
श्री धर्मेंद्र यादव जी।
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय। 18वीं लोकसभा के निर्वाचन के बाद और इस नए संसद भवन के बनने के बाद आज मैं पहली बार बोलने के लिए खड़ा हुआ हूं। आपने मुझे मौका दिया, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। सभापति जी, सबसे पहले सद्य नेताजी को मैं नमन करना चाहता हूं, जिन्होंने अपने संघर्ष, अपनी हिम्मत, साहस और अपने पूरे जीवन की तपस्या समाज के उत्थान के लिए, देश और उत्तर प्रदेश की तरक्की के लिए और समाज के हर व्यक्ति की तरक्की और खुशहाली के लिए उन्होंने जो अपना पूरा जीवन समर्पित किया है, सबसे पहले मैं आपके माध्यम से उनको नमन करना चाहता हूं। माननीय सभापति महोदय, सद्य नेताजी ने हम लोगों को अपने समाजवादी विरासत में इंसाफ और इंसानियत, न्याय और हक की लड़ाई करना सिखाया है और उस लड़ाई को हम लोग बखूबी अपने नेता आदरणीय अखिलेश यादव जी के नेतृत्व में शानदार तरीके से उस विरासत को न केवल लड़ रहे हैं, बल्कि नेताजी के हर सपने को पूरा करने तक हम लोग चुप बैठने वाले नहीं हैं। सभापति महोदय, बजट एक व्यापक विषय है और जब इस विषय के बारे में सोचते हैं तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा कि कहां से शुरू करें, क्योंकि देश में आज कोई वर्ग नहीं बचा है। कुछ चुनिंदा उद्योगपतियों के बारे में बात नहीं करूंगा, लेकिन देश के 140 करोड़ लोगों में से कम 95% लोग ऐसे हैं जो आज पूरी तरह से बर्बाद है। एनडीए की यह सरकार 11वां बजट पेश कर रही है, लेकिन इस 11वें बजट के बावजूद अगर मैं देखता हूं तो समाज की जो गरीबों के लिए सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी चीजें हैं, स्वास्थ्य का है तो स्वास्थ्य 2023 और 24 में बजट घटा दिया है। किसानों का बजट जहां यूपीए के सरकार के समय 2014 तक 5.5 था, वहीं 24 आते आते ये 3.15 रह गया है। शिक्षा का बजट जहां 2013 में 4.77 था, आज 23-24 आते आते ये 2.5% रह गया है। इसी तरह से जितनी भी जरूरी चीजें हैं, सभापति महोदय, मुझे कहने में कोई संकोच नहीं, ये जो बीजेपी की एनडीए की सरकार है, ये सरकार पूरी तरह से गरीब विरोधी, किसान विरोधी, नौजवान विरोधी, बुनकर विरोधी, छात्र विरोधी, दलित विरोधी, पिछड़ा विरोधी, मजदूर विरोधी, जितनी भी अगर उपाधियां दी जाएंगी सभापति महोदय वो कम है। और मैं कोई राजनीतिक भाषण नहीं दे रहा हूं, मैं उदाहरण सहित आपको जब नंबर आए तो बोल देना, और हमें पता है आपका नंबर भी नहीं आएगा आपकी पार्टी में, यह भी पता है हमें। सभापति महोदय, श्रद्धेय नेताजी ने हमेशा कहा है कि चुनाव में या जनता के बीच किया हुआ वादा अगर आप पूरा नहीं करते हैं तो वो भी एक सबसे बड़ा भ्रष्टाचार है, और उस भ्रष्टाचार में अगर किसी ने वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड बनाया है तो बीजेपी की और एनडीए की सरकार ने बनाया है। सभापति महोदय, 2014 के चुनाव के समय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने वादे किए कि 2 करोड़ रोजगार हर साल मिलेंगे। स्वामीनाथन जी, जिनको भारत रत्न दिया है, सरकार को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं, लेकिन वो धन्यवाद अधूरा है जब तक उनकी सिफारिशों को नहीं मानते हो। 2007-8 से लगातार मांग चल रही है देश में कि स्वामीनाथन जी की जो सिफारिश है किसानों को 1.5 गुना समर्थन मूल्य देने का, एमएसपी की गारंटी देने का, कानूनी हक और अधिकार देने का, उस गारंटी को आज तक नहीं माना, आज तक नहीं माना, आज तक नहीं माना। स्वामीनाथन जी को आज तक नहीं माना। अध्यक्ष जी, डिस्टर्ब ना करिए। सभापति महोदय, मेरा टाइम इसमें काउंट नहीं होगा।
आप इधर,
अरे यार, इसे जीता है तो ज्यादा ना बोलो, मालूम है कितने बड़े तीरंदाज हो।
इधर सुनो,
स्वामीनाथन जी की आपने नहीं मानी, एमएसपी आपने लागू नहीं की। कितनी बढ़िया बातें कि खाद पर हम सब्सिडी बढ़ा रहे हैं, पहले 50 किलो को 45 किलो, फिर 45 किलो को 40 किलो, और मुझे लगता है कि एक तीसरा कार्यकाल पूरे होते होते केवल 10 ही किलो बचेगा खाद के कट्टे में, इससे ज्यादा नहीं बचेगा।
Look at the drama, look at the heat. Listen to these unverified claims and these false accusations which are being thrown at each other. Indeed, this budget is being lauded by the BJP party leaders and it is being slammed by the opposition party leaders. Instead of heading towards a healthy discussion, the parties, the opposition party leaders are throwing unverified claims and accusatory statements at the government. And finally, the budget discussion gets all the more dramatic. Yes, the story does not end here. It gets all the more dramatic with a heated exchange between Congress MP Charanjit Channi and BJP's Ravneet Bittu over personal remarks at each other in the Lok Sabha.
हजारों करोड़ का मालिक ये चरणजीत चन्नी है।
इनमें और अंग्रेजों में कोई फर्क नहीं, सिर्फ कलर का फर्क है। ये भी पहले सत्ता में काबिज हुए।
और ये गोरा किसको कह रहे हैं?
माननीय सदस्य
सोनिया गांधी जी, वो कहाँ के हैं ये पहले बताएं। भाई सोनिया गांधी जी कहाँ के हैं?
जो हार समझ कर पहना था गला अपना सजाने को, वो नाग बनकर बैठे हैं गला काट खाने को।
ये सबसे मीटू में, ये सारे केसों में ये सबसे क्रम है।
माननीय चेयरमैन जी, ये बताना चाहता हूं कि पिछले 10 साल में डॉलर की कीमत 25 रुपए बढ़ गई है, 10 साल में। और हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री मनमोहन सिंह जी और कांग्रेस की सरकार में ये सिर्फ 13 रुपए बढ़ी थी, डबल बढ़ी है इस सरकार में। और मोदी जी उस समय बोले थे 14 में, जब सरकार बनी नहीं थी, डॉलर की कीमत ज्यादा होने से जो रुपया गिरा, उसके बारे में मोदी जी ने उस समय बोला था क्या कारण है कि देश का रुपया पतला होता जा रहा है। ये जवाब देना होगा आपको, देश जवाब मांग रहा है, समझ नहीं आ रहा। प्रधानमंत्री जी गिर रहे हैं या रुपया गिर रहा है। कभी कभी तो लगता है कि रुपए की और सरकार के बीच कंपटीशन चल रहा है कि सरकार ज्यादा गिर रही है या रुपया ज्यादा गिर रहा है। और मोदी जी ने कहा था, जिस देश का रुपया कमजोर होता है उस देश की सरकार कमजोर होती है, उस देश का प्रधानमंत्री कमजोर होता है। मैं आज कहता हूं कि आज देश का रुपया कमजोर हो रहा है, आज देश की इकोनॉमी डूब रही है। क्या देश का रुपया कमजोर हो रहा है या प्रधानमंत्री जी कमजोर हो गए हैं या देश की सरकार कमजोर हो रही है? दूसरा, पेट्रोल की कीमतें। इन्होंने कहा, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 2014 में कि पेट्रोल की कीमतें बढ़ रही हैं और मनमोहन सिंह जी को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा, देश डूब रहा है। तो पिछले 10 सालों में पेट्रोल की कीमतें 23 रुपये बढ़ गई हैं। पिछले 10 सालों में पेट्रोल की कीमत, डीजल की कीमतें 35 रुपये बढ़ गई हैं, जबकि पिछले जो मनमोहन सिंह का समय था उससे क्रूड ऑयल की कीमत $20 प्रति बैरल कम हो गई है। तो मैं पूछना चाहता हूं कि ये पेट्रोल बढ़ रहा है या आपकी कंपनियों की, आपके आमदनियों की आमदन बढ़ रही है? क्या बढ़ा रहे हो? किसको दे रहे हो देश का पैसा? कहां जा रहा है पैसा? गरीब लूटा जा रहा है। माननीय चेयरमैन जी, आप गाड़ी फुल कराने जाओ, 50 लीटर तेल डलवाओ, 2000 रुपया सरकार को चला जाता है। 4 रुपये प्रति किलोमीटर हर व्यक्ति, देश का गरीब सरकार को देता है चलने का। 1 किलोमीटर चलो 4 रुपये सरकार को गए, और सरकार 14 लाख करोड़ के घाटे में बैठी है। और फिर ये कहते हैं जी बजट में बहुत कुछ मिला। मैं एक एयरपोर्ट पे गया माननीय चेयरमैन जी, तो मुझे एक आदमी आया, उसने गुलदस्ता दिया, मेरा स्वागत किया, अभिनंदन है आपका। मैंने कहा भैया आप कौन हो, मेरा अभिनंदन क्यों कर रहे? बोले जी हम अडानी जी की तरफ से आपका स्वागत कर रहे। मैंने कहा भैया आप मेरा स्वागत क्यों कर रहे हो? बोले जी अब ये एयरपोर्ट हमारा है, अब हमें इसके मालिक हैं, 50 साल के लिए हमने ले लिया है। तो मैंने कहा यार चलो ठीक है, आपने ले लिया, आपका धन्यवाद। मैं जहाज में चला गया, जहाज में गया, वहां फिर मुझे बुक्के मिला। वो कहते जी आपका स्वागत है, हम कंपनी की तरफ से कर रहे। मैंने कहा यार इंडियन एयरलाइन का जहाज है, आप क्या कर रहे हो, आप कौन हो? बोले जी ये जहाज अब हमारी कंपनी का है, ये मोदी जी ने हमें बेच दिया है। तो मैं पूछना चाहता हूं कि क्या क्या बेचोगे, कितना बेचोगे देश को? मैं 7 एयरपोर्ट पे गया, जिनमें लखनऊ, अहमदाबाद, मैंगलोर, जयपुर, गुवाहाटी, त्रिवेंद्रम, मुंबई, ये 7 के 7 एयरपोर्ट अडानी जी की है। 50 साल के लिए उनको दे दिए गए हैं। उनका जो पुत्र है उसकी शादी में गिफ्ट कर दिए गए हैं, और हजारों करोड़ रुपए शादी पे लगा। मेरे लड़के की शादी गुरुद्वारा में हुई। सुनो माननीय चेयरमैन जी, मेरे लड़के की शादी गुरुद्वारे में हुई। आज तक पुलिस पूछ रही है कि लंगर में क्या क्या पका था, दाल कितनी लगी थी, और जो लंगर बनाने वाला उसको कितने पैसे दिए गए। आज तक 2 साल से पुलिस पूछ रही है मुझे, और इस शादी में हजारों करोड़ रुपया लगा है, और प्रधान जी बुक्के लेकर जा रहे हैं, प्रधानमंत्री जी, और उनका स्वागत कर रहे हैं। गरीब को लूटा जा रहा है, गरीब के पास खाने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, और प्रधानमंत्री जी वहां बुक्के लेकर हजारों करोड़ की शादी में जा रहे। कोई बात नहीं, क्या क्या बेचोगे? सारे एयरपोर्ट, जहाज बेच दिए, आप देश की संपत्ति के कस्टोडियन हो, मालिक नहीं हो। आप इसको बेचने की गलती मत करो, देश बर्बाद करने की मत करो। आप अपने आप को
That's the level of heat, that's the level of drama that you just saw in the parliament. Instead of heading towards a healthy budget discussion, the opposition party leaders are busy throwing false accusatory statements and unverified claims at the ruling party. Clearly, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju's opinion stands correct. Unfortunately, healthy budget discussions are slowly and steadily turning into accusatory sessions with unverified claims. That's all for you. That's all for now in the World News Special. Thank you for making CVR News nationwide strong. We are counting on you for your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news from India and from the world, unfiltered and unvarnished. This is Anukriti Sharma signing off for now. Keep watching CVR News Prime Time for more compelling stories from across the world political spectrum.